We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions on the latest games releasing. And today we're going to run through Elder Scrolls Online and the Summerset expansion real quick. It's been out for PC and now it's dropped for the surprisingly decent PS4 and Xbox One versions. So since we broke down last year's Morrowind expansion and there was a lot of interest, the team here, we decided to give a rundown of Summerset too. Some of our overall opinions about Elder Scrolls Online might end up with me repeating myself a bit, but overall Summerset adds more Elder Scrolls Online good MMO stuff to play through. Now, before we get into it, for newcomers, I do want to say if you couldn't get into Elder Scrolls Online back when it launched, there have been lots and lots of improvements. I can't go into all of them here, but we will outline some. But at this point, it's a fairly refined MMO with lots of Elder Scrolls exploration elements. It's got all the elements of a modern but fairly accessible MMO, but if you boil it down to its parts, it's got a lot of the feel of an Elder Scrolls game and the core two things, exploration and combat. You can even get away with having fun and exploring and playing by yourself a bit, even if the game is designed around more social play. Just to play catch up too for some folks, the difference with Elder Scrolls Online since launch is the initiatives to fix the game with a complete overhaul in scaling, removing level requirements, meaning all quests and enemies scale so more people can play together and really explore however they want. This big fundamental change back before Morrowind was called One Tamriel, and it makes a difference. It might not be for every type of MMO fan, but it might work for some of the Elder Scrolls fans. Anyway, I just wanted to keep you filled in with how the game goes now, because now we have the land of Somerset. Like the Morrowind expansion before it, once you own this expansion, you can hop in with a character you have, or by rolling a new character and starting out here. So for the purpose of this video, I decided to roll a new character since many of you might actually be doing the same. And like previous expansions, I immediately give the game points for jumping in. I haven't played Elder Scrolls Online since like a month or so after Morrowind's launch, and it's easy to hop back in again. You can choose to go through a quick tutorial that doesn't really waste your time at all. It's nice and quick, and boom, you're dropped right in the Isle of Somerset, this land ruled by high elves that doesn't quite feel as immediately exotic as something as like Vardenfell, but it does feel as big. And the further in you go, and the more you talk to folks, you realize they've got something interesting going on here. First of all, it's open and gorgeous. Somerset hasn't really been explored other than Elder Scrolls Arena, which came out before I was even born, but still, this land just feels new and exciting. It feels closer to a Cyrodiil than a Skyrim or a Morrowind, but there's still lots of high fantasy elements here, like creatures and fairies and stuff like that. The building designs look like typical Lord of the Rings fantasy stuff, your basic castles and the like, but the deeper you get into the game, the more you see new stuff. And especially just with the actual story and characters. Elves are mean. In the story, they've only just opened up the Isle to outsiders, and they'll treat you as such. It's got that distinct feel like in Skyrim, depending on what race you choose, and other races react to you differently. It also gets pretty goofy too, and tries new things with quests, like a whole dance troupe tavern diversion that I won't spoil. But it feels like at this point, quest designers feel a little more safe to goof around and do weird stuff. It shows, and I think it definitely helps shake things up a bit. You'll notice that I'm talking more about the world and the quest because that's mainly what you get with Summerset. You don't get world-altering updates, those have already come, and you're not exactly getting an entirely new class, but you are getting tons of new quests with interesting storylines, dungeons to dive into, and voice actors. Certainly, definitely the strength of the game is this stuff. They've promised around 30 hours of quest content. For some folks, that's great, and for others, that might not be enough for the price and the average content amount for an MMO expansion. But besides that, it introduces a surprisingly in-depth jewelry crafting system. It is straightforward and similar to normal crafting, but hey, it's more to do. There's also this order in the world introduced that has a new skill tree that you can learn. It takes a while, but it brings in new time-twisting elements to combat and gameplay. I do think some people will be pissed that they don't get access to it immediately, and it is a bit of a grind to get through, but hey, that's kind of what MMOs are for. Like I said, there's also the usual stuff that comes with the expansions, like interesting new characters and enemies. There are griffins that are pretty cool once you see them in action, and there's a new 12-player trial, of course. Ultimately, Elder Scrolls Online, the Summerset chapter, has plenty of story and quests to play through and explore. At, like I had said, the amount of hours of content, that seems a bit small for an MMO expansion, especially at the asking price here. And honestly, for some, Elder Scrolls Online isn't the greatest MMO. If you're looking for more traditional MMO MMO stuff, it has a lot of shortcomings, especially if you're more into fully featured PvP worlds. But if you want a light MMO that is well designed and pretty fine-tuned and polished by now, with a good Skyrim and Oblivion feel, there's a lot to like here, and this latest expansion just adds more to what has become kind of an expensive pile. So just think before you commit, but you might have a good time here. And that's a before you buy. You know how it goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, some personal opinion. So now we definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. Are you playing Elder Scrolls Online? What do you think of the newest updates? We just wanted to provide kind of an overview. You might be a little more hardcore than us, so we're curious to hear your thoughts. Maybe you're just a regular old Elder Scrolls fan, you don't really jump into the online game. I want to know if you're willing to jump in, or maybe you tried in the past. Whatever you feel about this game and the expansion, let's talk down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a thing or two, clicking the like button does help us out. We really appreciate it. And if you are new, you should consider subscribing because we put out stuff every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.